Okay, thank you very much. So, first, thank you, Marco, and thank you to NetHub for inviting me here. This is my second year to be in Split, and I feel like in my living room. So today, I have a great honor and pleasure to welcome my dear colleague and friend, Vesna Rakovic-Haber. And why I decided to talk with her, because we have a quiet journey. We shared a quiet journey in Pliva, GlaxoSmithKline, and Galapagos. And also, I think, as you recognized, we have the same name. So that's the reason why I like her. But anyway, I think I would like to, Vesna has impressive curriculum, and I'd like to read and tell you a little bit more about her, so you can also later grab her. Because you can have a lot of benefits with working with her. So Vesna holds a medical degree and a PhD in biomedical sciences. She completed medical school at University of Rijeka. And also she, as well as an executive MBA degree. However, she spent at the beginning of her career a couple of years in academia, but then she moved to pharma industry, and she works actually about more than 25 years in pharmaceutical industry, in biotech companies and CRO companies like Pliva, GlaxoSmithKline, Galapagos, Fidelta, and Cellvita. And today she's on a position of Vice President of Pharmacology and Translational Research in Cellvita. Her focus was always mainly, I think still today, anti-infective, anti-inflammatory. She's teaching at the faculty of University of Rijeka, and she's professor there, and she has more than 70 peer publications. And I'm glad that Vesna accepted and find the time to talk and come to this chat today. So. First, I think that Tony already has mapped the audience, but I would like to, those who are from pharmaceutical industry, could you please raise your hands? 1, 2, okay, very low. So, at the beginning, Vesna, could you just briefly introduce and say to our audience in 1 or 2 words, could you explain the role, what is the pharmaceutical industry?
Now, I'm a professor, but I'm being on exam. And anyway, pharmaceutical industry for me, and we just chatted, me and Ines this morning, actually is, when I think pharma, I think hope. Maybe it's different than people usually think, but I think hope. Hope for what? For longer and better life. And what we actually chatted about was actually a progress pharma has made in the last decades. So, for example, majority of you're young, but probably you have somebody who is ill in your family. And basically, the sentence in my family is there, just keep going. They will come up with something in next year or year after. Just as long we keep going, drug will be there. Because every year there is a new drug, so new hope. This is my personal story and personal view. Maybe you wanted more business-like answer.
No, that's fine. So, yeah. But also I would like, because we would like to chat about the role of pharma industry in innovations, but also about collaborations, potential partnership, and some opportunities and future perspectives. But could you tell me how has pharma's role in innovation evolved since we worked together from, let's say, 20, 30 years ago? And how do you see pharma companies reshaping health innovation today? So can you a little bit explain us what's changed in those years? How do you see pharma industry innovation today?
This is my first time at a meeting like this. So actually listening to a couple of these presentations this morning educated me a lot, because I was thinking what she's going to ask and what I'm going to answer. And actually I realized I'm at the right place. In my title, my titles 10 years ago, or maybe more, 15 years ago, would not contain the word word translational. I would be a VP pharmacology, VP R&D, VP whatever, but I wouldn't be translational. And the word translational, I think, really nicely explained that pharma is changing because world is changing. Why the function translational has been introduced in a pharma is because regulators said world is changing, there are innovations, people are discovering many things, and you're discovering and developing drugs in an old-fashioned way. This is not the way to go. So basically, we should make a process, and we should introduce a team which should take care that everything that's novel and new tools, new means, new processes that are out there should be employed in the drug discovery process in order to facilitate it, to bring value, and to make it more better outcome, better process. And that's me. I'm, besides taking care of novel compound screening, testing, evaluating, validating, my role in a company has been for the last 10, 15 years, actually to head translation, to bring something out of the box in the process in order to accelerate it. So I guess it's changing.
Yeah, but also I think that a long time ago, and maybe still today, everybody's thinking that R&D is like a big, that pharma is a big R&D machine or a big giant. It's very difficult to approach, how for collaboration. And so is anything changed there, do you think?
Again, world is changing, so pharma has to change, right? What's, I think, very important if the topic is how we collaborate with startups, right, and small companies.
And in general, with the
or whatever.
Innovators, yeah.
Basically, maybe you think only if you have an idea about new drug, you should come and talk to me or my colleagues because you're going to make a new drug. And these are the most people we are talking to, people who have idea how to make drugs. However, we are a workforce, or however Tony said, we're competent people who have a knowledge and who are doing something, discovering and developing drugs. But I think the imperative should be on how, because we lack a lot of knowledge and a lot of technology actually to do the process that we know very well, medical science or disease problems that we know very well, to do it in a proper way. So actually how technologies which you can help us with are actually, I would say, number one entrance to the company, because you can help me with something that I really don't know about. And majority of people have idea, only if I have a new drug, I should go and talk to them, maybe they will license it and move it forward. Okay, so that's changing. That's changing. For example, in the past, when we worked together, no mathematicians, physicians, they were not employed, maybe one person to keep the books or whatever. Nowadays, there are skill sets employed, especially in big pharma, which you would never think would be employed by pharma, which shows what kind of skills pharma needs and lacks, and that could be brought from outside. That's at least my experience.
So you're more and open, am I right?
I think it's a different world.
Yeah.
I think it's a different world now.
Yeah, yeah. So, and also it's when I know Cellvita and also other pharma collaborating more with hospitals, with innovators, with academia, maybe less startups. So when evaluating collaboration with healthcare innovators, what would be, let's say, the things that you're looking for, what you need, when somebody approaches to you, how they can present, what you're looking for?
In general or specific?
Let's say in general.
In general, I would say, again, to turn the tables. In life, you want to work with something who will bring some value to you, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. And so, if there was out there somebody who comes and listens to my problems, and so it's important that the partner we are talking to understands my problems and comes with their view or solution to those problems. So always it's the first start what I need, So you helped me. Once I gain confidence that what you can bring me gives me a value, then there is a possibility that you actually show me there is something that I need that I did not realize that I need. Very rarely, I think people who are really innovators, they go out of the box and, like you said, the bee, flying away, and comes to conservative institutions, like you said, and basically talks about something, this is nothing, forget it, this is real business, we make drugs, right? So you first need to build a rapport where you help me on my problem, and definitely you can with your out-of-box knowledge. And then when we get confidence in relationship, then I'm ready to listen about the bees which are moving around. Because it's all psychology, at least that's how I see the situation. And it happens. It's not that it never happens, it really happens. But it's a stepwise, like again, some of you said, one needs to climb step by step, right?
And also from, as I observed that Cellvita, let's say your company, you collaborate a lot with hospitals, with a lot with academia. You have a lot of projects also in those areas. However, on the other hand, I know that, let's say, in our region, Novartis, AstraZeneca, Medtronic, they collaborate a lot with startups, So it will be good that Cellvita also opens your door to the startups in our local region. And maybe it's a question, I know that on a daily basis, you have a lot of issues, problems, scientific challenges. Can you share maybe one of your problems you have currently, and let's say, for somebody can help you?
Yeah, I can share one problem, and if you can help me, I would be very grateful. Before going there, maybe why we collaborate with hospitals, because we and I personally believe using human material, human data, human system is way to make new drugs, because we are treating humans. And our clinical centers, because there was a discussion about why don't we have more clinical trials? We can all go from top down and criticize these guys upstairs, but actually world is on these guys. And I always tell my students, I teach you about how I do the work, but you're not going to do it this way. You have to do it differently. And so I honestly believe, and I know, there are many young physicians in the hospital who are ready for clinical trials, who are ready to jump the train with all of you. They just don't know you exist. That's honestly my opinion. So Sherpas and all the others definitely have very important role to put you guys together. Saying that, why I'm mentioning this and making kind of digression is, so we work a lot with hospitals because it's very relevant and there are very competent people there. We also work with academic institutions. One, we don't work with startups because we don't know they exist. Who are they? Where are they? If I had, now I'll know. But basically, and when I want to find some solution, I Google, I go to all these resources and trying to find somebody who would help me, because I don't know where to go. With academic colleagues, we know where to go. There is the one problem with academic colleagues that I'm ready to share, and they know it. And yesterday, I gave a speech in Rijeka on a Center of Excellence for Digestive and Metabolic Diseases establishment. And then I, in my talk, mentioned how translational medicine, different players, different reason to play. And then I said, I play translation because I need fast go, no-go decision, not to spend the money, not to spend the time on something that's not worth playing. And then academic colleague, 3-4 speeches after me, said, well, we did this experiment, this turned out, and then she said, luckily we don't work in industry, we don't need to make fast go, no-go decisions. So this is another maybe thing for startups. When you talk to the business needs snap responses. And now to particular problem. I told Vesna, because Vesna is analytical chemist. And we just introduced technology in-house, which is very, very unique, top-end world technology. Few companies in the world are actually doing this. And what are we doing? We are actually taking human material, making sections of the human material, and then mass spec imager goes and ionize human material, meaning it's not a classical histology. You don't need any kind of antibody stains, anything like that. What you need is the proper human sample, and you need actually source of ionization, and all molecules present, which can be ionized, can be detected. Why are we doing this? We are doing this in collaboration with mentioned Clinical Hospital Rijeka, Medical School Rijeka, because we are going after colorectal cancer. We want to find heterogeneity, we want to find biomarkers, and we want to find targets. When we were setting up consortium, we got medical experts, we got pharma experts, we missed somebody. We missed people. And yesterday, we had a big discussion. Who is going to handle all that data? What do we do with that data? People asked, so when you generate, some Italian told me, okay, great, you're going to generate the data. Who is going to, you're going to be swallowed by the data. And we are facing a problem. Today, we have already, I don't know which kind of bytes of data generated from human samples, which can be transferred in images of tumors, organs, all of that. Thousands of molecules. We don't have a solution, and there is no commercial solution in the world because we are top in technology. No solution to handle the data. And what are we doing? We are talking to academia, and I'm asking, is there a postdoc which is doing mathematics? Is there a postdoc which is doing this, who is willing actually to talk to me, to help me? So that's my real-life problem today.
Yeah, but I think that here we have some startups. Maybe is there some startups interested there? So, yeah, there are a couple of hands raised. So maybe you can connect, yeah. So
image analysis, image searching. Yeah. We can produce thousands. Every molecule you detect in a tissue, you have a picture. And what we are doing now, we are looking at the pictures and trying to recognize which picture is relevant, which is crazy in the time of AI, because nobody made platform to do it.
But that's you need innovators, some startups, and maybe you can use this conference maybe to make connection and increase your team in your project. The time is running. I just want to ask you a little bit. We know, let's say, what is about the future, let's say, opportunities. We'll talk, but later you mentioned a little bit about these clinical trials. What do you think, why in this region there are no pharma industry doesn't want to invest in clinical trials and clinical research, because there's a low cost in this region, there is potential. Can you?
I honestly, it's not a cost. For example, cost is not, how to say, it's in my eyes, but that's my personal opinion. How to put it? We basically have a patient population which has certain drugs on the market. So unfortunately to patients, but fortunately for trials, these patients are drug naive for certain treatments, and therefore I think this is very interesting area to do clinical trials. Second things, there are indications where basically there are no treatments, and therefore it should be our social and economical interest that we do clinical trials, because this way, like Alzheimer, what can you do with Alzheimer? If there is a clinical trial, you can enroll somebody from your family to Alzheimer clinical trial. Otherwise, you just watch, right? So in that sense, it's economical and social interest. So in my eyes, it's a systematic problem that, differently to Slovenia, for example, where there is a system which regulates and organizes that. In Croatia, it's individual. Individual who has network, individual who is eager to try, individual who has a patient and wants therapy for it. So it's all on individuals. But I believe in individuals. I honestly believe in individuals and young individuals, because I think it's all about individuals. And once you start a spark, it goes. So I think we just need group of enthusiasts in one hospital who start the pitch.
But-
And then everybody else will copy. Believe me, people will copy. People like to copy. So we need to start.
But I think also but I think on a national level, I think government or ministries, somebody should help and support this process.
They should do that, but who is here from government?
Don't ask.
Is there anybody?
No, okay.
They set up, you said you set up, where is the lady from Bosnia? You set up private company, invested to have institute. Did government do it? No. So.
Yeah. But then we are very optimistic. So let's look at the future. Are there any questions? So please and I would like to end also about, at the end, we know that that there's a lot of technologies changes, a lot of things, artificial intelligence overnight, so many things going on. So how do you see the pharma looks like in the future? In which technologies you think they will invest, in which therapeutic areas, for example, a little bit about future. What is the main areas you're looking for, and also maybe interested for the innovators to work in that fields?
Therapeutic areas where market is, right? Pharma is business. So where is the market? That's those therapeutic areas, meaning aging, meaning Alzheimer, neurodegeneration, oncology, but not oncology, classical oncology, but new look at the oncology. So basically that's I would say, and whatever comes along, that's a big market one should follow. Technology-wise, obviously there is always a lot of space for drastic innovation in biomedicine, and this is going to be important. On the other hand, I honestly think everybody's bragging about data and artificial intelligence, but very few know how to use it, and people are scared of it. And basically, we are generating a lot of data that we don't know what to do with. And I honestly think this is the knowledge which, not because it's a hype, it's because we are overwhelmed with information that we don't know what to do. So I told colleagues yesterday when they asked about the data, I want to say this, career in the future is medicine and mathematics. Yeah. Study medicine and mathematics and no problem for your future. Medicine, only forget it. Mathematics, maybe you go to space industry. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I would like maybe to finish this chat. First, thank you very much, Vesna, for this conversation. And I think that we a little bit tried to explain you that pharma R&Ds are not anymore I don't know, big giant, very close to the tower, that they are opening much more. And they are becoming a collaborator, partner, and a driver, or part of a bridge. And also, I think that wherever you are, in academia, pharma, incubator, or hospitals, I think there is a lot of opportunities and challenges to work together, because the time changed a lot from past, and I think the future will be much better if we go in that directions. So, Vesna, thank you very much once again, and thank you all for listening us.
Thank you. Thank you.